Okay, so today I have my longtime friend Gemma. We've known each other since primary school and then high school, so we have been through it. And today we're kind of going to talk about she obviously has worked in the fashion industry, sorry, and we're just going to kind of talk about what that's been like for you. So would you like to tell us how you started off in fashion and why?
Yeah, of course. Hello, Ellie. So I have always been into fashion, really, as long as I can remember. I might not look like it today. I'm in my weekend
Yay.
casual. But yeah, I guess it kind of started probably back at my granny's house. I know that
Oh.
sounds,
The one up the road from me?
no, the other one.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
the scruffy nan.
No, my granny was always quite into dressmaking and things like that. And used to have a little sewing room. So I think that's maybe where it kind of initially sparked my interest. And also my mum is a big magazine hoarder.
Ange is a fashion icon.
She is quite the fashionista.
She constantly, from my age of 4, my whole family will say, my mum will always say, doesn't Gemma's mum just always look lovely?
Oh, she'll love that.
Yeah,
I'll tell her
she'll
that.
listen. She's a big fan of my Instagram, Ange.
She is. She's always liking the pics, a comment.
And obviously, I have some fashion memories of you from when we were at school.
Oh, Lord.
So you might not get this because Gemma is a lovely person deep down.
Thanks for the
She's let that show now. But back in the day, you were a bit of a feisty bugger, weren't you?
I had my moments, yeah.
She liked to tell people what looked good on them and what didn't. I always remember our friend Dominique, who, God love her, she's quite shy. I wouldn't say she's awkward, actually, but I think people could misconceive her as being awkward. Yeah. And she had on a plastic, I'm not going to say PVC because she was a child. I don't think children wear PVC type stuff.
Could be a bit much.
What was it, like a MAC type thing?
I forget the exact name. I should know.
And she was wearing it because it was raining. We were going to the park. And then she was too hot on it. So she was like, I'm just going to wrap it around my waist. And you were like, oh my God, Dominique, do not do that. And she had Dominique wearing it like she was off to a game of polo round her neck. She looked ridiculous. And Gemma was like, that is so much better. And then I remember Dominique as well she will not mind me saying this at all, she has a birthmark, which we've all known about for years.
And disclaimer, I love Dominique to bits. She's one of my best friends.
She's her best friend. She has a birthmark on her arm. Yeah. Not dead noticeable. It does look like she's just not put a fake tan on properly, but we all knew
I can relate.
She had this birthmark. Gemma literally licks her thumb, rubbing away. So poor Dominique's looking like she's off to polo with a bright red arm, and she's like, Gemma, it's a birthmark.
That is what I was saying to Elle just before we started. I think most of these memories I've blocked out as a kind of PTSD.
I have not, because they've traumatised me for years.
Oh, God.
Last one. This will get your nerves away. Last one, I remember I had braces. You know where I'm going with this. Or maybe you really have repressed.
I think I have.
So me and Jem didn't speak for a few years in high school because of this incident. I had braces from year 7 till either year 9 or year 10. I'd done my stint. And they weren't normal braces for the first 18 months out of it. They were just 2 studs and then 2 plastic tubes going around.
I really don't remember this.
I've never seen a brace look like it since.
One of a kind.
I've never had luck with teeth. When I was in primary school, I had no teeth. Then as soon as I got them, they were on opposite ends of my face. So I had to have braces. So I'd struggled with teeth. We were gimps at school.
Yeah,
lovable gimps. I was a bit of a class clown. So we used to kind of hang out where other people didn't hang out because we're not like other kids.
Yeah, we're not like other kids.
And we were Gemma called us all into the lecture theatre, which was where we used to hang out. She's like, guys, we need to meet to the lecture theatre because I've got some news that I really just need to tell you. And we're all sat round her, and she goes, I don't know how to tell you guys this, but I'm going to have braces for prom. Like that, and I just burst out laughing because I was thinking, is she taking the piss? I've literally had train tracks on my mouth for
right now.
3 years. I laughed and the head just went straight to me and she's like, are you being serious right now? Are you laughing? And she kicked me out the lecture theatre.
Disclaimer, I think growing up, especially at school, I watched a bit too much of the Kardashians.
And you were living that life.
I was living that life. I don't know what it was. I'm definitely not like that now.
No, she isn't. Put that out there. I can honestly say.
And I do cringe.
We wouldn't be friends.
We wouldn't be friends, that is true. But yeah, it is funny to look back.
Sometimes you got to go through the shit times to get to where we are. But obviously, that was just to make Jem feel a little bit more relaxed.
Thanks. I mean, if anything,
nothing like a bit of humiliation to make people feel at home.
Warm me up.
So we spoke about on the way here how you've done internships. Mm-hmm. How did you get into these internships? Like, because you've had to be quite ballsy really with your career, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. So to bring Ange up again,
what a woman.
What a woman. Was quite lucky in one of the internships that I managed to get. So my mum won a competition to be featured. I don't know if I've even told you this. I feel like maybe I did.
Now that you're saying it, I feel like I do remember. I don't remember you getting anything from it, but I'm sure I remember Andrew winning a comp.
Yeah, she won, and she's actually since been featured again. They liked her that much, they brought her back, but that's a whole story. But so my mum had won this competition to be featured in a magazine called Prima, which is more kind of targeted at our mum's age, I would say. But Prima are owned by a company called Hearst Magazine, so they have like Cosmo, Harper's Bazaar, like all the big publications. So it's like a really cool kind of publisher. Anyway, I tagged along with Ange because I was like,
how old are you at this point?
I want to say, I think it was just as I'd started uni, so I can't remember. It's God, my maths is shocking.
Would have been like 18, wouldn't it?
Yeah, something like that. So I'd gone down to London with my mum for this photo shoot. I'd asked if I could tag along, and I can be quite ballsy. I force myself. I'll talk about it in a bit, but I'm normally quite an anxious person. But I think in those kind of settings, I kind of force myself to be quite ballsy. So I printed off my 4 little CVs, a computer at home, and took them down with me. And while my mum was like loving life at the photo shoot, I was just kind of
I'm just going for
it. She's gonna hate how much she features in this. But I was going around like trying to chat to people, making small talk, asking if I can help in any way, like just really wanted to get in there and build connections, and was handing my CV out, which sounds really cringe. Like looking back, they probably thought, who's this kid?
It's not though, because like I've watched Davina McCall speak, and she says that even as successful as she is now, she still hounds people for opportunities.
Yeah.
So I think that sometimes people have a misconception of, it looks beggy. How are you meant to get anything in life if you don't kind of put yourself out there and ask? Like, if anything, I think they probably thought like, oh wow, look at this kid, she's going places, because it takes a lot of guts to go up to like a huge company like that.
That's it.
While your mum's giving it Naomi Campbell.
I think it's one of them, like in the moment, you're like, yeah, hi, like nice to meet you. I'd really like to get an internship here. And then you pick up your water afterwards and you're like this. But yeah, I asked one of the stylists there. She was so lovely. I'll never forget her actually. And she was really sweet and was like, yeah, when are you free to come down? We stayed in contact, and yeah, I got to do an internship. I did it across a couple of the magazines there. I have a funny story about that actually, because I remember when I got it, I was obviously so excited and kind of had no idea what it would be like. And, I was obviously telling my mum, texting her and updating her. And one day they were like, because I was working in the fashion wardrobe. So like, when brands would send in pieces for them to use on photo shoots, I was kind of helping organise that, working on shoots and things like that. And anyway, I might have told you this story.
No.
And stop me from rambling.
No, don't be daft.
I think this just kind of shows like what a novelty it was to me and what an eye-opening moment it was. And they were like, guys, we're doing a clear out. Just sprayed it without saying it. We're doing a clear out of the fashion cupboard and the beauty cupboard. So like, go in, help yourselves. Oh my God, Ellie, they had all this brand new makeup. They had Cloud9 hair straighteners, which are really...
None of this means anything to me, but I'm like, I'm literally like, brush my hair once a week.
Which are like really expensive straighteners. So I was buzzing and like got all this stuff. I think I took like my tote bag in at the time, which I got for free, which I was also buzzing about. I was like, oh, this is great. Thanks so much, guys. Literally rang my mum that night when I got back to my little B&B where I was staying. I was like, Mum, you won't believe it. It's amazing all the free stuff I've got. I had brand new straighteners. I
feel like I know where this is going.
And then the next day they sent an email around and said, just a polite reminder to everybody who participated in the rummage yesterday, it is £5 suggested donation. And me being the skint like student and intern I was, I obviously
How
wasn't getting
much,
paid.
just to get an idea of how much you took, how many £5, what total would you have to put in?
I'd say about 10 items. It would have been about 150 quid, which to me back then
That
was a
was
lot of
too
money.
steep. Too steep for them. That was probably the price of those straighteners alone.
Literally. So obviously I had to go back the next day. And
Did you keep the straighteners and just put a £5 down?
I kept the straighteners. Like I gave my, paid my dues, did my
That's
donation,
hilarious.
but I did put a lot back. Yeah, that's
That
quite
is
funny.
the most you thing ever.
I was so chuffed. I was like, Mum, you won't believe it. The freebies.
This is the best internship
I love a freebie.
Well, we're like Valencia, all stuff on. I don't even know if I said the name of that right because I don't know anything.
It's not in Spain.
Did I just name a city?
Valentina.
And here's Gemma wearing Benidorm.
Today it's Costa del Sol.
Yeah.
A one-off exclusive.
So you done all that and then you went to uni in Newcastle.
Yes. Yeah.
Was it fashion that you studied? Like, is that the title of the thing, or was it fashion and business, or just fashion?
Yeah, so I studied fashion communication, which, to be fair, I would recommend to anyone. If you want to get into the fashion industry and you're not sure kind of what area you want to get into, I think that was a really good degree to do. So like I kind of touched on before, like my granny used to be quite big into like dressmaking and things like that. And as I studied fashion and textiles at college, I realised quite quickly that I wasn't very good at dressmaking and that I was more interested in kind of like campaigns and the brand side of things. So during my degree, we would do loads. There'd be like lots of editorial work. We do photo shoots. We do like rebrands for different companies. Obviously all hypothetical. I wasn't out there rebranding the likes of Valentino, but
Valencia.
Valencia. But yeah, it was really good and it was quite hands-on as well. But I will say, I don't think a degree in fashion is enough. I think you do need to do those internships and kind of placements as well. I think that's...
Would you say you always needed the degree, or could you work your way up in fashion without having a degree?
I feel like that's quite a tough... I wouldn't want to say like, oh, don't get a degree, kids.
Yeah.
Not that anyone's going to, I'm
don't
not an
need
expert.
education.
But yeah, I think it's good to have both. But don't get me wrong. I have, a lot of people I've worked with over the years have worked their ways up. Started as an intern and then got taken on. So I think you can do it both ways, yeah.
And obviously, without naming names of the companies that you have worked for, you've worked from like high street brands to, I would call them designer brands, but I don't know if that's the term you'd use for them.
Yeah, like luxury.
Yeah. So what is the difference between working for like a high street brand and those luxury brands? Is it a lot more intense? Is it a lot more... Is there a huge difference?
I think that is a good question. I think it probably varies depending on where you have worked.
Yeah.
I will say, I think I was quite naive kind of when I left high street and I guess you'd call it fast fashion and went into more luxury brands. I think I thought, okay, fast fashion, like that was super fast paced. I'm starting in a luxury brand now. It's going to be like super slow, like it's going to be really thought out. We're going to have really big timelines. I think it's just kind of, and I'm sure other people will agree if they've worked in like the fashion industry, I think it's kind of across that whole field, it's always quite, what's the phrase? Close to the nail? That's not the phrase.
Is it? Yeah. I know what that means.
Yeah, you know what I'm getting at. Like you're always cutting it quite fine with deadlines and it's always quite fast paced no matter where you go.
But why is that? That's what I don't get. Like when I think of like, because we've got my friend Dom used to work in fashion and I know people from the gym that have worked in fashion and I've never known someone to work in fashion and not seem extremely stressed. Like why is that? Is that just like the culture of fashion that it's so fast paced? You've got like, why?
I think fashion's obviously quite reactive. So I think that's probably a big part of it. You're always looking at your competitors and what they're doing. And, when one competitor brings out one campaign, you're going to want to do a bigger and better campaign, or you're going to want to kind of play on the same reactive piece that they have.
How long is a turnover for a campaign? Because obviously sometimes like you can see stuff like, I know, God, I can't remember the brand. Is it Dove that done the huge campaign of like where they got different body types on?
Yes.
So obviously now everyone kind of follows suit to that.
Yeah.
How quick is the turnaround from like, say you're in the office and another brand has released a campaign and you guys are like, we need to do that?
Yeah.
how quick of a turnaround are we talking until your campaign can be out?
I think it depends. I think if like brands are doing it properly, you'll trend forecast. So trends and things like that, you can kind of predict.
Really?
Yeah.
So how can you predict trends?
Oh gosh. I mean, I'm not a trend forecaster. That's like a whole other
yeah.
role. But I know like they go to, I think, like fairs and things like that, and we'll just get an idea about like what colours are going to be hot that year.
Oh yeah, because I suppose like with fashion, like oh my God, I'm
Yeah.
really showing my fashion sense. I'm literally, what's that guy that goes on This Morning and he gets like all the
Gok.
mums out modelling?
Gok.
No, I know Gok. It's the other guy. He's always very tanned.
Marcus.
Possibly.
Mark?
And he's always, yeah, maybe Mark. And he always
Mark.
gets people out and he's like, this is really going to be in this autumn.
Yeah.
Or this is going to be
Yeah.
in this summer.
Yeah.
I suppose though with trends, who creates them? Or is that like a question? Because to me, it's like, to me, a trend
Yeah.
is something that's followed. So
Yeah.
who is it that you follow?
I feel like that's more of kind of a designer would know that as opposed to
Yeah.
someone like me. But I think a big thing going back to, as you mentioned, like Dove and being quite
Yeah.
inclusive, it's like a super inclusive brand. I think Skims do that really well as well. And not to bring up the Kardashians again, but you know, like the likes of Good American, I think like this might be incorrect, but I'm sure they were one of the first brands to have different body images on the product listings. And I've noticed since then a lot more of the brands have started to do that. So I think like inclusivity, I'd like to think now lots of brands are doing that, and that's not so much
Yeah.
a trend anymore. It's becoming something that brands have to and
Have
should
to,
do.
yeah.